It's the holiday season, which means you likely dusted off your chainsaw, from all that sawdust, may I add, and went to embark on a journey to cut down a big old Christmas tree. That's what people do, right? They take their own personal chainsaws to cut down trees. I wouldn't know, I was too busy celebrating Hanukkah this year, as I do every year, but either way guys, chainsaws weren't always used for cutting down trees. Instead they were used for, and hold on one second, might I add that the real reason chainsaws were invented is scarier than you guys think. See what I did there? It's like when you hear a movie title in a movie. You just gotta insert the little Leo meme of him sitting on the couch when he's like, you should know what I'm talking about. Alright guys, enough joking around here, we gotta get right to business, but before we do, make sure to smash that like button as I always tell you guys to do, or else, this is very important, Leatherface may pay you a visit this year. That's the guy from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Nobody wants to get a visit from this guy with his big old chainsaw. Smash that like button, baby. Alright guys, now as we know, surgeons have all kinds of tools to use, but when it comes to cutting or making incisions, I'm pretty sure they use a knife. Or something similar. They use a scalpel. Yet back in the day, our technology wasn't nearly as advanced as it is today. We've made leaps and bounds when it comes to advancements in all types of tech, but back in the day, even during childbirth, anesthetics weren't administered. So as you can imagine, things were incredibly painful. When you needed a surgery, maybe you got a bottle to help with the pain, but that was likely it. They didn't know how to freeze a nerve or administer any type of narcotic to help you sleep while the surgeons did what they had to do. And going back to childbirth, of course they wouldn't allow someone giving birth to have a few drinks to help with the pain. At least I hope not. Cause, you know, that would affect the baby. If you're delivering it. Wait, would it though? Cause if you're delivering the baby, probably not actually, if they're not in your body. I really don't know guys. The point I'm making here is the women unfortunately felt absolutely everything that happened during childbirth. Now I will say a quick note, I understand some people do it, you know, the natural way still and they don't use drugs, and that's okay too. That's admirable, that's very painful, and my hat's off, I'll take it off, my hair's messy, but that is incredible if you do that. And if you don't, that's okay too, whatever, it's personal preference. Doesn't matter guys. As is the case with childbirth, sometimes complications can arise. Now thankfully, due to our advancements in technology, we have found ways to help ease things in the case of complications. For example, if there is an issue with the baby coming out the traditional way, as in, well I'm not going to have to explain that. A very common procedure is to have a cesarean section procedure, also known as a C-section, where the doc will cut open a woman's abdomen and uterus to help with delivering the baby. But before that was possible, or I guess you could say discovered, the doctors used to perform what's called a symphysiotomy. This procedure would see the surgeon use a small knife, or a scalpel, and a saw to cut parts of the pelvic bone, or cartilage, obstructing the baby from being delivered. And yes, as previously mentioned guys, there was no anesthetic administered, so it was very painful and a messy process. Just the thought of that makes my stomach turn. I can't imagine. And then in the 1780s, it seems everything changed when two surgeons, John Aitken and James Jeffrey, invented the chainsaw. But it wasn't the big motorized, you know, heavy bad boys that we see lumberjacks walking around with. The ones that these two created was much smaller, and it could fit in the palm of your hand easily, as it was in the shape of a round or oval kitchen knife and had little jagged teeth on the edges, as a mini chainsaw would. And they would use their new invention to make bone and cartilage cutting easier, and potentially less painful, but I'm sure it still hurt like a And to no surprise, when people realized how efficient this new invention was at cutting, their next thought was, let's use it to cut other things. So then these chainsaws were not only used for childbirth, but they were also used for amputations and whenever people needed to cut something during a medical procedure. However, when talking about the chainsaws we've grown to love, or hate, depending on how much you hate the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and how much it scared you as a kid, it's believed that this one dates back to January 17th, 1905. The patent was granted to a man by the name of Samuel J. Benz from San Francisco. But his chainsaw wasn't that great. I mean, it was a good start, but we needed a Canadian to come finish it. You know, good old Canadian boy. I don't know, that's not what Canadians do, but anyways. This is where James Shan comes in, who in 1918, he got a patent to create a portable chainsaw, as in the ones that we use to cut down trees and make horror movies. He would eventually allow others to expand on his idea by giving them the patent, and companies would go on to create tons of different chainsaws. It's pretty cool when you think about it guys, it's a pretty cool, fun fact of the day. But it seems pretty random that all of a sudden people are wondering where chainsaws come from and if they were invented because of a childbirth. Or I guess multiple childbirths. Either way guys, to no surprise at all, it seems this question, or fun little fact, took over TikTok and then it spread like wildfire across the internet. TikTok user My Name's John posted a video explaining the origins of chainsaws, and it seems that got a lot of people questioning if he was getting information out of the Rectum Library or if he was spitting facts. And after doing a quick Google search, it seems like a lot of people are wondering the same thing. What was the reason chainsaws were invented? Well, now you know, for childbirth. Kind of messed up when you think about it. Pretty scary, but overall I'm just glad that the procedure is mostly a thing of the past and doesn't happen that much anymore. If they do happen, it's very occasional in less fortunate countries. However, to no surprise, a C-section is much safer and easier. Now, as always guys, let me know your thoughts on this one down below. I bet you guys weren't expecting this one to play out the way it did, yet here we are. Pretty strange when you think about it. But imagine how funny it would be if Leatherface was seen with one of the old chainsaws, just like a little knife and the jagged teeth and a hand crank. It'd be way less scary. If it's just like you heard somebody scream and it was just like. Anyways guys, for now let's do some comments from Roundup. Tom Cruise goes off, Bella Thorne faces backlash, Lizzo responds to critics. Tony Grant said, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that Jared loves science. It's pretty cool. I'm more of a sports guy, but I like science too. It interests me in school a little bit. Was never like a science major. I was never that good at science. But when I get to do a fun story about an asteroid almost coming to Earth and destroying the planet, I'm like, this is pretty cool to talk about. This is something that no one really knows about, that I'm gonna inform everybody about, and I kind of like it. So yeah, science, bro. Amanda Franklin said, I quote, "Did she wake up and shoot stupid? Best line of the year." My favorite line is, "This man woke up and shows violence." Whenever I see a video on Instagram of someone just fighting somebody else and knocking them out, I'm like, this man just chose violence. And it's just something about saying that he woke up and shows violence today. I don't know why it's funny, and that works too. Did she just wake up and choose stupid? It's like when you say someone chose something like that, it just works. It's always funny. I don't know, it's just great. So Misha Washington said, I stand with Tom, and I'm not a fan like that, but he's right. He is literally paying for the cast and crew's lodgings. It costs money, so when a movie gets shut down, so yeah, I mean, look, you know what? The film industry is known to have a lot of money. There's definitely a lot of money to be made. There's definitely a lot of money that is spent to create films. And like they say, time is money. That's why it's always like quick turnarounds. They film like soap operas. They'll film I think an entire episode in a day maybe, or majority, and you get the script right then and there. You gotta just get it down. Soap operas have the quickest turnaround, but a lot of these films and TV shows, because of the pandemic, it's been affected negatively, and it's just costing them so much money that they don't have time for people to mess around. Normally they don't have time for people to mess around, especially now. Lindsay Jordan said, Jake is so gross in every way possible. That's all I gotta really say. You're not wrong. Low D said, I could watch Jake say science all day. So now I don't know if Lindsay Jordan was saying I'm gross, assuming my name is Jake, because that Low D thinks my name's Jake. So I don't know if you're talking about Jake Paul, if you're talking about me when you said I'm gross now. So maybe I take back what I said. I don't know guys, either way, I've been your host Jake, apparently, and I'll see you soon.